Thank you for tuning in to this particular episode of Dr. Joey's old-timey, mental sciencey, snake oil medicine show, because today we're going to be talking about how to spot lies, the mastery of mentalism skills. And when this is done, you should have everything you need to know to go out and call people on their lies, if that's what it takes. Sometimes the best thing to do, though, is just to let it ride. One of the best things about being able to detect lies and to do something about it is you can avoid being gaslighted, because many times whenever you're suffering narcissistic trauma and abuse, there's gaslighting involved, and it's lies. And so here we go. Lie detector tests are frightening. Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot. My name is Josie. Bleh. My name is Joey Sapp. I have a Doctor of Law from the University of Georgia. I did postdoctoral work, clinical hypnotism. I was a registered certified hypnotherapist, trial lawyer, research scientist, commissioned artist, blah, 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 Renaissance person. Nowadays, I mostly fulfill the role of a whiskey priest. If you don't know what that is, you should check it out. It's very interesting to read about, not so interesting to have to put up with in your daily life. But it's about helping people today. And so what we're going to do, lie detection. And lie detectors are frightening. Well, only for the people that have got something to hide because they're lying. Why are they frightening? Because they're incredibly accurate. You can't fool a lie detector test unless you manipulate your body's conditions beforehand. But that can be extremely painful and unhealthy. But if a machine can detect lies, why can't humans? Especially since these machines that we base our faith in are electromechanical versions of what we as a human beings are, an organic bioelectric version of anything we can do, mostly with a computer and a machine, we can do with our body and our brain. Humans can do this, and there are people trained for exactly this kind of job within the government and within police agencies. There are self-taught individuals that are basically enforcers, leaders, etc., etc., etc. You know what I'm talking about. There are people that are good at interrogating people, and they notice the small, subtle signs that tell them precisely if a person is telling the truth or not. And like a machine, there are instances where it doesn't work. But knowing and being aware of what signs to look for can be extremely accurate and powerful. It's a skill that all people should have. Being able to tell if a person is lying doesn't just give you a one-set skill. It makes you more aware. It makes you more conscious of the fact that people could have other agendas than the one they're saying. And it makes you wiser in real-world situations. If you can recognize the entendres, and there are more entendres than just the doubles. You can have triple, quadruple. You can have a lot of entendres. Things are layered with meaning, and you become aware of that. It's all a part of removing the veil from your eyes. Oh, you hopeful initiates of the Hermetic tradition. Be careful what you have asked for. Anyway, I am making this video and distributing it and sharing it amongst everyone so that anyone that wants it can have a higher awareness of their surroundings and the people they encounter in this world. Is there anything special about the medicine show here? Not so much, except it's my version. I'm better live than on tape. There are other places to get this knowledge, and in some places you'll have to pay a good bit of money. Be very skeptical of paying money when there's a lot of this stuff that's out there for free. And discernment is necessary. That's the first trait that you'll have to do if you're looking to learn these skills and to become an initiate in the Hermetic tradition. The alchemists and magi of the world that are real, that work the real magic, that walk the world as angels unawares, have to have discernment and have to know what they're doing. You know, not everyone is good. Some people will try to take advantage of you. No, we know it. And to be able to spot those people before anybody else has, man, that's a key skill in life. It's a lot better to decide you want to be hustled than it is to be hustled and then decide you didn't like it. So let us ask ourselves, how accurate are the human lie detectors? Well, human lie detectors read facial expressions, body language, voice tone, and statement analysis in their efforts to detect deception. Human lie detection is like a humanized polygraph. The science trains the science trains the notice naked eye to see guilt, nerves, and hidden emotions in a similar way that a polygraph measures heart rate, respiration rate, and sweat. In NLP, which is neuro-linguistic programming, you actually learn about things called micro-expressions and fleeting changes in body state that you have to be aware of, or it'll pass you right by. But once you're aware of them, the whole world will scream at you. Many times you won't be able to hear what a person's saying because of how loud their body is talking. Research has shown that learning human lie detection techniques can help you improve your lie spotting ability up to 90%. It's always better to be able to have the skill to spot deception than it is to just go out willy-nilly, caught up in the bugaboos of the brain, and just assume things. This gives you the scientific basis. Okay, now let me give you some interesting facts about lying. Extroverts lie more than introverts. Men typically lie more often than women. And more than 82% of lies go unnoticed. Did you know a third of all resumes contain false information? Did you know that the person we lie to the most is our spouse or significant other? The person we love the most is the person we deceive the most. And this takes into account deception, everything from the little fibs all the way to the big lies. Now, signs that are used by human lie detectors for the federal government and the FBI, as well as those crack private investigators and the people that do what I do for a living, are easy. They're actually numbered. So let me just go through these. There's quite a few of them, but number one, when a person has an answer for everything, they're probably lying. Ask most people what they're doing last week, and they'll have to pause and think about it. Even more true of teenagers who generally don't have the capacity to tell an elaborate story on the fly. So when someone gives every answer that seems totally rehearsed, there's zero hesitation before they answer a question, well, it's a dead giveaway of deception. Number two, fidgeting and fussing for no particular reason. If someone keeps performing a random physical act that seems unnecessary, like clearing their throat, cleaning their glasses excessively, retying the shoelaces, trying to dust off the clean table in front of them, they may be lying. They're definitely anxious. And guilt and anxiety make them restless. That can be particularly true if they're lying to somebody they love. When a person fibs to a traffic cop, they won't necessarily fidget, but try to deceive their spouse, they won't be able to sit still. Number three, when they proclaim their honesty repeatedly. To sell us on the integrity of their answers, liars often use phrases emphasizing the validity of their statements, like to tell the truth and to be perfectly honest. Well, these verbal tip-offs frequently invoke religion. Think of the expressions like, man, I swear on a stack of Bibles, and God is my witness. Most truthful people don't need to go that far. Most people that are honest don't need to spend a long time trying to convince you of their honesty. Now, it's okay to say it once, but if it gets excessive, it's a small sign that you should look out for them to deceive you. Now, number 4, they change their head position quickly. If you see someone suddenly make a head movement when you ask them a direct question, they may be lying to you about something. The head will be retracted or jerked back, bowed down or cocked or tilted to the side, and it often will happen right before they're expected to respond to the question. Now pay attention, because number 5, a person trying to deceive you, their breathing will change. So pay close attention to a person's breathing patterns. When someone is lying to you, they may begin to breathe heavily. It's a reflex action, actually. When their breathing changes, their shoulders will rise and their voice may get shallow. In essence, they're out of breath because their heart rate and blood flow change. Your body experiences these types of changes when you're nervous and feeling tense. When you lie. When you have to deal with fight or flight. Now, number 6, they can also stand very still. While it's common knowledge that people fidget when they get nervous, you should also watch out for people who are not moving at all. There's a variety of reasons for this. One of the main things is, especially as you learn more into the hypnosis and the separation between mind and body and the midbrain, is your body language can be suppressed, but you cannot make your body language lie. You can do small movements which seem to correlate with what you're saying, but no big movements, no natural movements. Many times they will suppress their body language. And again, that's just a sign of the primitive neurological fight rather than flight response. As their body positions and readies itself for a possible confrontation, they shut down, they don't move, they don't fidget, they total control. Now, when you speak and engage in normal conversations, it's natural to move your body around in subtle, relaxed, and for the most part, unconscious movements. That's your body telling the truth. So if you deserve a rigid, catatonic stance devoid of movement, it's often a huge warning sign that something is off and they're trying to control themselves. Now, number 7, deceptive people will repeat words or phrases. This happens because they're trying to convince you and themselves of something they say. They're trying to validate the lie in their mind. For example, he or she may say, I didn't, over and over again. The repetition is also a way to buy themselves time as they attempt to gather their thoughts. Also, please remember, the word never does not mean the word no. Never does not mean no, and oftentimes when people are being deceptive, they will use the word never where the word no would go. Because again, they're trying to stay as close to the truth as possible, unless they've just decided for the big lie. Number 8, they'll provide too much information. When someone goes on and gives you too much information that's not requested, and especially when they have an excess of details, there's a very high probability that they're not telling you the truth. Liars often talk a lot because they're hoping that with all their talking and seeming openness, others will believe them. In other words, they're trying to bury you with bullshit and things like that. Number 9, interestingly enough, they touch or cover their mouths. Cover their mouths. A telltale sign of lying is that a person will automatically put their hands over their mouth when they don't want to deal with an issue or answer a question. When adults put their hands over their lips, it means they aren't revealing everything and they just don't want to tell the truth. They are literally closing off communications. Body language, again, very instinctive. Speaking of instinctive, and number 10, we've got they instinctively cover vulnerable body parts. This may include such areas as the throat, chest, head, or abdomen. I've often seen this in the courtroom, both as a trial lawyer and as a consultant and social engineer and trial strategist. And I can always tell when someone's testimony has hit a nerve with a witness, because I see their hand covering the front of their throat. Guaranteed. This is one particular thing that is used as a clear signal of lying by the FBI. Guaranteed. Try it out in your own life. They will instinctively cover vulnerable body parts, oftentimes their chest, head, or abdomen. Number 11, they also shuffle their feet. This is the body taking over. Shuffling feet tells you that the potential liar is very uncomfortable and nervous. It shows you that he or she wants to leave the situation. They want to walk away, and the body is expressing this by shuffling their feet. This is one of the key ways to detect dishonesty in a liar. Just look at their feet, and you can tell a lot. Number 12, if you watched videotaped interrogation, you'll notice that a suspect who is guilty has difficulty speaking. Number 12, difficulty speaking. You'll often observe that it becomes more and more difficult for them to talk as well. This occurs because the autonomic nervous system will decrease the salivatory flow during times of stress, which of course dries out the mucous membranes of the mouth. And other signs to watch for include sudden lip biting and pursed lips. Number 13, a liar will stare at you without blinking much. When people lie, it's common that they break eye contact, but the liar could go the extra mile to maintain eye contact in an attempt to control and manipulate you. Bernie Madoff, for instance, like most con men, overcompensated and stared at people longer than usual, often without blinking, at regular intervals. When people tell the truth, most will occasionally shift their eyes around and may even look away from time to time. Liars, on the other hand, will use a cold, steady gaze to try to intimidate and control. You also want to watch out, though, for rapid blinking. A person will ordinarily blink about 5 or 6 times a minute or once every 10 to 12 seconds. When stressed, though, when someone knows he's lying, they may blink 5 or 6 times in rapid succession. This could be to attempt to, once again, moisten the dry eyes that comes from the body getting ready to fight or flight and cutting down the moisture and mucus production. Now, exceptions to the usual blink rate mostly have to do with the production of dopamine in the body. Similarly, got a little trick, a little hack for you here. The secret to staring someone down is not to look them in the eye. What you do is you stare at the place between their eyes on their forehead. That's where you focus. From a distance, a person can't tell if you're actually staring at them or not. Very few people can stare down and look into the soul of another person via their eyes. Just stare at the eyes. But if you just look at the center spot between the eyes, right where the hair usually grows to make the unibrow, you stare at it all day long. Blink, do everything you got to do. It won't bother you, because you're not having to look into their soul the way you do when you actually look them into the eyes. Now, an example, though, of this, a person with Parkinson's disease will have a noticeably slower blink rate than usual. And believe it or not, a person with schizophrenia will blink more rapidly than normal. So kind of judge it out. Now, number 14, if they close their eyes for more than a second at a time. When a person closes his eyes for a second or two, this may indicate he's lied to you, since this is a type of defense mechanism. Normally, a person will blink at a speed of 100 to 400 milliseconds, or a tenth to a 40th of a second. When they blink and close their eyes for more times than that, it tends to be a deception, a burden indicator, stuff like that. Now, number 15, liars tend to point a lot. When a liar becomes hostile or defensive, he's attempting to turn the tables on you. You know why, don't you? Might makes right. Give me what I want and I'll go away. He who shouts the loudest is the winner. These are all nuclear blast coping skills that the narcissist is very familiar with. The liar will get hostile because he's angry you've discovered his lies, which may result in a lot of pointing and stomping and everything else. Now then, number 16, we're moving into some NLP areas now. Looking up and to the right. When you ask a normal right-handed person about something he's supposed to have seen, if he looks upward and to his left, he's truly accessing his memory of the incident. However, If they look upward and to the right, they're accessing their imagination. He's visually constructing and inventing an answer. Left-handed people will usually have just the opposite reaction, and some people stare straight ahead when they're trying to recall a visual memory. The way you can assess what the baseline is for a person in this case is ask them something like, do you remember what your room looked like when you were a kid? Do you remember the day that you turned 16 and what kind of day it was and what your car looked like, your very first car? Use that to gauge what it is. These are questions that you know will evoke a guaranteed visual recollection, and that'll give you your baseline. Now, similarly, when you look directly to the right about sound questions, about verbalizations, if you ask what a person heard, the eyes should shift toward the left ear to recollect the sound they heard. But if the eyes shift towards the right, they're trying to see if something sounds right because they're constructing it. Again, this can be vice versa for the lefties. You can find out what the baseline is by, do you remember what your mom sounded like when she was mad with you? What she called you? Did she use your full name? Many times that will work, and it's very quick. It's very quick. Now, number 18 is looking down to the right. A liar's eyes will not shift downward and to the left if he's going to tell you about his memory of a smell or a touch or a sensation. This is the kinesic access, where you actually recall what something felt like, a cold draft or a terrible odor. But the eyes will shift down and to the right if they're going to lie, because they're trying to, once again, construct. They're having a conversation with themselves on whether or not they can construct it and remember. Okay? So again, if they look up to the right, they're visually constructing. If they look directly to the right, when you ask about sounds that they may have heard, they're constructing it, not recalling it. And looking down and to the right is a good example of trying to see if something feels right, if it seems right, if they can construct the actual feelings involved. But check the baseline. Number 19 with this, we got bunch skin beneath and wrinkles beside their eyes. When people genuinely smile, the skin around their eyes bunch and wrinkle. When they fake smile, or the beauty queen smile as it were, the smile doesn't touch their eyes. It doesn't make it twinkle. It's a forced smile, and some people are very good at a forced smile. A forced smile is actually, when perceived correctly, more like the bared teeth of a cornered animal. Now then, face touching. Number 20, a fairly easy and clear sign of dishonesty is face touching. Believe it or not, there's a chemical reaction which causes people's face to itch when they lie. It's a good tip to know. Also, apparently, opiate abuse will also make someone touch their face a lot as well. Methamphetamine use will make them pick their face a lot. And working in fast food will pimple your face a lot if you're a teenager, believe it or not. Just kidding. Number 21, pursed lips. A person's mouth will often go dry when they're lying, and they may do a sucking motion, pursing their lips to try to overcome this. When their lips are so tightened that they appear pinched and white, it's pretty much indicating that they're lying. 22, similarly, excessive sweating. Sweat may appear on the forehead, cheeks, or back of the neck, and you'll likely observe the person try to wipe it away. Also, at number 23, we've got blushing. Blushing is an involuntary reflex caused by sympathetic nervous system, and which is basically your fight or flight response is being activated, and it's a response to the release of adrenaline. You're blushing because you're getting a burst of energy, and your body's heating up, getting ready to hot rod it, as it were. Number 24, head shaking. Often, when people tell the truth, they will nod their heads simultaneously in agreement with what they're saying. This is called physical congruence, unconscious congruence. But if they shake their heads in disagreement with what they've said, their bodies are betraying their lie. Again, it's very hard to get your body to go along with the lie, because your body, your solar plexus, your midbrain, your body brain, just ain't going to have that shit. It's really interesting. Now then, after 24 indicators of dishonesty and deception, the question becomes, what can you do with the information? Well, human lie detection is fascinating. As I mentioned earlier, the signals, once they're mastered, can improve your lie spotting ability up to 90%. The signs are subtle, and you should memorize each one to truly be able to tell if someone is lying to you or not. The best way is to memorize them and then come to understand each one and go practice on somebody. Now, don't tell them that you're trying to practice your lie detecting skills. Don't ever do that on somebody. A good practice technique is to get a friend or family and just tell them you got something you want to test out. Start asking questions. And that, my friends, is a brief master class in how to spot lies and dishonesty detection. Wow, clocking in at 25 minutes. That's amazing. I'm not going to keep you. This is Dr. Joey. This is my old-timey mental sciencey snake oil medicine show. This is a master lesson in how to spot lies. The basic fundamental training for anyone, if you're going to be a government agent, attorney, a priest, a magician, a spouse, a teacher, customer service return representative at Walmart, any place where you're put under the onus of trying to detect lies. Now, the presence of one or more of these does not always specifically mean lies. It does not specifically mean a specific type of deception. But when you put them all together, they can, in the totality of the circumstances, indicate dishonesty. Please be advised, however, that when you use these techniques, to be very careful, have some ethics and have some discretion, because people that are caught in lies, especially if they're caught in public and they're publicly humiliated, will immediately drop into the might makes right coping skill and will proceed to fight. It's an escalation of violence that could be unnecessary. So please use these with alacrity. Use these with discretion. And our next class, our next thing rather, will be on, I'm going to go with interrogation training. So the next master skills class we're going to do with Dr. Joey's old-timey mental sciencey medicine show, here will be the mastery of skills for interrogation training. Hope to see you then.